Hello, good morning. I'm I left the last stream in a shitty mood. I'm still in a shitty mood. Um, I have these nano leaf elements that I have on the wall behind my desk, which I had upstairs, but for some reason, I think it's because just the temperature changes in the basement. They keep falling off. It just pisses me off. But I found some like super tape or super glue tape thingy. I'm gonna try. Yeah, those things are amazing. They give such a nice atmosphere at the desk. You should really check them out if you haven't heard about them. They're called nano leaf elements. Awesome stuff. So we're gonna just keep refactoring and hopefully get the app back in its original state. And maybe we'll be able to kind of get that backup thing running. But let's see. Context, subscription. Oh, yeah. So explain, how do I listen to workspace changes? And yeah, how do I listen to it? Because the way I think VSCode works is that there's an instance of the extension for each window. But then within a window, you can change the workspace. Oh, sorry, on the change workspace. That's the one. So let's see. On the change workspace folders, we want to reinitialize the thing. How would we do that though? Let's see. So, oh yeah, let's first implement the logic of create. So we're gonna remove this create thing. And we need to create, I guess, initialize. Oh. And we do that with the context. Let's see if we can just do something like that. There we go. So this will be async. Oh, initialize. Get text. Oh, interesting. Let's just shove that in here. Get repo state. Isn't that from the utils? Yeah. Weird. Get repo states. Where did it go? Initialize. Well, I guess we don't need a constructor. Initialize. Yeah, and I guess we could say, like, we can say private context. We don't have to actually pass that in. We can rather say yeah, and context is this dot context. Let's do it since it's private. And what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna say this dot state equals this is actually like super complicated because of this async nature, it's very hard to handle cases where, for example, we're initializing this and for some reason it takes a little bit of time, and then maybe you change the workspace or something, and then we have to make sure that it's not messed up. So we should really have like an abort controller for the state changer. This is what I've been chasing since the beginning of time, is having a simple class abstraction that allows you to just have predictable, like you define states in a nice way and you have predictable transitions between those states. And I haven't figured out a good API for it yet. It gets very complicated and non-intuitive, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, I think so. Hi Patel, by the way. Yeah, we can do a Zoom this evening. I'll put it in my let's see. Yep, I moved it to this evening instead. So that should be fine, Patel. Let's see. And then on the change fire. Okay. Now the problem is this repo, because this repo has, wait, what? Oh, can I restart extension host? Restart extension host. It's the typing here is off. That is like 8 p.m. In the evening. Well, p.m. is evening. Why isn't it getting... sometimes VSCode just completely like hangs. Restart TS server. Yeah, it should be fine for me. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get the kids to bed, so I might be a little bit late. But at least between like 8 and then I have about an hour. I need the typing here. Just 2 seconds, just to make sure I don't show anything I shouldn't show. Let's see. Yep, see you there, Patel. Let's see, do I have my typing here now? Yes, I do. Let's get back to it. Oh, repo any? Why? Oh. There we go. Okay, so this repo has a shit ton of events. Or not a shit ton, but it has... Doesn't it have like on... Yeah, on... Oh, doesn't it have... Yeah, the state change. So we have to make sure... I think... await new promise resolve. So if repo, let's see, head if repo state head. Okay, so we're gonna say okay, let's see. We're gonna put this into the get repo state instead. So how are we gonna do this? So we are gonna be very brute about this. If you change the branch while you're doing the rebase, we're gonna just like kick you out of the, we're gonna discard the whole rebaser state. The question is, where the hell do we listen to that? This is so annoying. So the point is, we need to listen to this event. Like, we can't await an initialized repo. We have to like listen to changes to the state, and then when it has a branch, then we consider it initialized. When we go and get the commits, and like even there, like what if you change the branch while you're getting the commits? Like, we're not gonna do it at that level, but that's the insane complexity of this. Let's see. But at the same, so we want to, as long as we are initialized, we want to listen to state changes on the repo. Which means, yeah, I guess we just need to add a disposer to initialized. Dispose. So first of all, what I'm thinking here is that we should really just, oh, because they're different, right? Here we want to wait for the initial state, and then we want to listen to changes, and there's no like overlapping approach to that. Well, maybe there is. So what if we say, ja. Ja. Samme det da. Gjør det da. Ja, ja, samme det. Let's see here. Oh, oops. Let's see. Okay, sorry. So we're gonna have repo change disposer. Is repo state on the change And then we're gonna have this regardless. And then we're gonna do if repo state head, then we're just gonna go ahead and immediately initialize. And if not, how are we gonna do this? Let nice PR. No, how are we gonna do this? You know, we're not gonna call this, we're gonna call it get commits. Get commits, get repo commits, or get branch commits. So, oh, sorry, and this is gonna take branch string, and this is gonna be a promise of commit. So if it's main, we're gonna return that, or we're gonna return, well, I guess we can do this. Okay, let's try again. We just have to keep, oh yeah, and then, so this is gonna throw an error if we don't have any repo state, and this is like actually commits. So if we have, let's see. You know what? We're gonna just do the two different cases here. So if we have repo state head, meaning we actually have the branch, we're gonna do this. Let's see. Let's see. Const branch equals repo state head dot name. Oh. And then we're gonna say go and grab the commits for that branch, and then we're gonna initialize it with the branch and the commits. And when we listen to on did change, oh, doesn't it have anything? Oh, interesting. So if repo state head name is not equal to branch, we're gonna dispose of, okay, so we're gonna do this. This is interesting. Then we're gonna do state. As const. So no, wait, we're not gonna do that. So if the repo head changes, what I wonder though is name. So is this always the branch name? What if I rebase? Does the head change? No, it doesn't. It's the same. Get branch. Yeah, no, that should be fine. So if then we're gonna. This is also where I get really annoyed, because this listener is in the context of being initialized. But when I now check this .state, it's not initialized anymore. So that's why I wanted to do this. Satisfies state. Wasn't it state? Oh, of course. So it needs to satisfy initialize. So this just ensures that we're getting the actual state here. So if so we can do, well, we have to pass him. Okay, we can do this, and then we can say state.dispose. Well, maybe we don't have to do that. Ah, god damn it. We don't really care about the current state. We just care about if this listener triggers. We're gonna initialize again, and then what we're gonna do is if this .state equals initialized, then we're gonna dispose of the state. So whenever we initialize and we're already initialized, we're gonna dispose of the current state. And then what we're gonna do is try to and then we get an error here, string error, and then we're going to shove all of this into here, and then actually we're gonna always update. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So if we're initialized, we're gonna just dispose of the current initialized state, and the only times we initialize is, well, initially, and then if the branch name changes, or if the workspace changes. So that means on the change workspace folders, what does this on the change, when does this actually happen? Okay, I guess initialize or initialize. Yes. And then for every command that we have, we're gonna check if initializer state.state equals initialized. And then initializer state.nicepr. Oops. So I'm thinking we just do that for every command. Oh, I guess if it's not equal to initialize, we're gonna return. Maybe that's a better check. Let's do that instead. Yeah, that's better. Let's see. Can imagine how stuck I would get in the proof of concept if I didn't make an AI or the LLM make it. Initializer dot state dot nice PR. So the way I would actually do like a state machine concept is that there will have to be like a manager class, like a parent class for all the different states. So there would have to be like state dot current, for example, and that would be an instance of an actual other class. And then it would check like instance of current to like figure out and then you could have like state dot is, and it will pass in a class reference. And then it would like return like null or maybe throw an error depending on the scenario if it isn't that, and then it would actually return it if it is that. So you could like state dot is initialized dot whatever. And then initializer state nice PR. And again. Oh, these are, I don't think I have those anymore. Also here, it's like, it's kind of interesting that it doesn't give an error because you don't know the state. Because we're waiting here to enter commit message, and you could change the branch in the meantime. Or something could happen which makes it not in that state anymore. It's very annoying. Okay, cool. Now, could argue that these commands should be registered within like the actual... Wait, is this one old? Oh, that one's old. I think I'm gonna delete that one. Yeah, this one's old. This is the one we're gonna use. Okay. So so there's really no... Yeah, so there is an idle. But now we don't need these checks anymore. Because this was actually changing, because we're changing out the whole thing now. But the question is the backup branch. How do we... how do we do that? We could make it a promise, checking the backup branch. So whenever, like, it's only when we go to the idle state we want to check if we have a backup branch. So that could just be a promise, and then no, that can't be a promise because we need to check it in package.json. God damn it, this is just horrible. So on did oh, look at this. On did open repository. We need this one as well. Repositories for each. So you can have multiple. Oh, this is also a complicating factor. Like, you can technically have multiple repositories in a workspace. But we don't support that. I think we should throw an error. Yeah, on did change workspace folders. So we can remove all of this. Oh, fuck. Fuck. So this content provider needs to be outside. Let's see. If API repositories length throw new error. Nice PR does not support multiple repositories. So this is interesting. So you might also have a workspace where you haven't opened the repository yet. Oh, for fuck's sake. So that means, it's so complicated. So if you have like an open window and you maybe even have project open, but there's no repository there, and then you change the workspace, what does on did repository mean? Or on did what is the actual practical? So I guess if there's no repo, on the open repository. This is rough. So if we have the API, we can look at the length of repositories, but it might not be opened yet. So, and this is what I hate about events. It's like you always have to do this check what is the current state? If it's not what you think it is, set up a listener. When the state becomes what you want it to be, remove that listener. It's so complicated. Like if I could just, that's the beauty of promises, right? Because you could just say await repositories. And then if there is no repositories, you could just like wait. It won't resolve the promise until you actually have a repository. It's like await wait repository or ensure repository or something. That would be such a nice abstraction. So you would have like, you would pass in current state. Yeah, whatever, I'm diverging. So what do we want to do here? We want to check if we have a repository. So we need these checks. But if we don't have a single repository, then we want to set up the listener. And we want to stay in this. Yeah, and we only want this to run when. Yeah, and you might even close it. We don't really care about when you close it, right? Because that means the state changes, I would imagine. But still, we can have this in the disposer. On did close repository. So the dispose. Yeah, and by the way, we need to fix this one. And if we don't have fuck. Oh. I don't think I can handle this. This is so complicated. You can do all sorts of things in VS Code and the extension just gets out of whack, gets in a wrong state. So if you have a branch when we initialize it, we can just go and say it's initialized. But if we don't have that, we have to wait for the repo state to change so that we actually have a branch. And should we then just initialize again? I guess we can do that. That's simpler. But then we have a listener for then. Where do we put the initializer state? Oh, isn't that typical? I did it on the wrong thing. So initializing also needs a disposer because we don't. So yeah, I think we should simplify it. So when we're initializing, it's just initializing. There's no disposer, there's nothing happening. And then we call initialize. Yeah, and then we call initialize. And if no API throws an error, well, we shouldn't throw an error. We should set the state. Let's see. State, get state, return this dot state, set state, state, this dot state equals state, this dot on did change fire. So what we're gonna do is rather do this. This dot state equals error no git extension API found. So what happens now is that we're just going to call initialize, and then, but we're already just listening to state changes. And then we're going to do the same here. Yeah. And then, like, if you change the workspace to an actual repo, we're going to initialize again. And then we're going to try again and see where we're at. I just wonder if... should we rather be listening to this API? I wonder if we should do that. So we shouldn't even listen to workspace changes, because I think this extension will change when the workspace changes. We're gonna try that. So at the end of the day, we wanna just listen to the state of... oh, but we're listening to the state of the specific repo. Like, how does the API know about repository? Like, when does that change? Oh, yeah, that's the on-did open repository. Okay, so, fuck, we need to change this again. So, on-did open... God damn it. And this is async. God damn it. Ah, for fuck's sake. So we need a static create for this one, and we're gonna give it the context. Because when we create this, like if you don't have a Git extension, it doesn't matter. Then we're just gonna throw immediately. The whole extension throws. And then what we're gonna do is, if everything's fine, we're gonna return this. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna listen to on-did, well, sorry, we're gonna, oh, where's the API? Oh, yeah, sorry. Git extension, get API, if no API. No Git extension API found. Okay, and then we're gonna pass the context and the API, and then we're gonna say private API. Yes, we don't need that. Let's see. And then we need the on close. So on did open repository. So the problem here is we're probably gonna get like multiple events. There's no like on did, right? There's no, oh, on did change state. Does this give anything? Yeah, API state. Wait, what is this? API state? Huh? What is this API state? Oh. Oh, for fuck's sake. We even have async related to initializing the API itself. Does that change when you change workspace? This is so complicated. This is insane. This is just insane. So if it's initialized, I have a feeling that if the API changes state to initialized, we do we have the repositories or don't we have them? What I wonder what's gonna happen here is, but maybe this is fine. Maybe we can just do this on the open repository. And whenever we open a repository, we're just gonna reset the extension. So for some reason, if there's multiple repositories, yeah. If there are multiple repositories, we'll just reset the extension. So if there's a workspace with 5 repositories, it's just going to choose like the, I don't know, the last one, I guess. Yeah, and I guess we need like a... But then like on did close repository, what happens then? What if you close a different repository than the one that's open? But maybe we can like actually pass in the repository to, yeah, let's pass in the repository here. Repository. And then we can check. On did open. Yeah, and then this is gonna be initializing repo repository. So basically what's gonna happen here is we're gonna see if we have a repository. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. So we'll see if we have a repo and if we okay, we can check that inside here. Initial repo would be API, sorry. And then are these two different states? I don't think they are. Because when we have a repo, so if we have a repo, we're gonna initialize that repo immediately. So also the initialized, yeah, but the problem here, should initializing also have the repo? I guess so. But then that means initializing, what is this state? Like what if we don't have, we're gonna have another state here. It's idle. So it starts out as idle. Nothing's happening. And then when we're initializing a repo. When it's initialized, we're gonna have the repo. We're gonna have the nice PR, and we're gonna have a disposer. So create blah 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 initial repo, and then if initial repo, we're gonna initialize it, but we're still gonna do like on did open repo and everything. Oops. And then when you close a repo, I assume you get the repo. Yeah. So when we close the repository, so what we're also going to do here is that we're going to say context subscriptions push. And then if this state dot state equals we're gonna dispose of that state, and then we're gonna say this dot state. I guess we move back to idle. I assume. And then if you open a repository again, we'll initialize it with that repo. So what can happen here is like, we might also be initializing, right, with the repo, but we're not gonna handle those intermediate states. Like that's the thing. That's what I talked about. I've been chasing this abstraction that just handles this, that is able to express all these like really complicated in-between states where bugs come from in async systems. And they're impossible to catch because they're so rare. But I'm not gonna dive into that. Okay, so now we have blah blah blah. So when we initialize the repo now, we're still gonna dispose of the existing thing if we're all of it. So you're allowed to initialize a repo on top of another repo because we're just gonna dispose of the existing one. The problem is that if I'm here getting branch commits for a repo, and then in between this, it's gonna, fuck, I'm gonna get stuck in this. Because what we really need is an abort controller for initializing. So if you happen to initialize a repo on top of a repo while you're initializing a repo, we have to make sure that we don't continue, or we'll override the initialized state. That's what I also mean. It's like some states represents a pending state, And those states should have an abort control. It should just be built into the thing. So if that state can't naturally progress to its next state, or like there's a state change in between the natural progression from one state to another, that should just be automatically aborted. And all this is very complicated to... Ja. 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 Hva mener du? Ja. 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 Men bare rive det av. Bare rive det av. Ja. Greit. Dra en Mimmi. Dra en Mimmi. Men jeg streamer i dag. Ja da. Let's see. I'm so like, this is what I do. I kind of see these like manual things, and I kind of see this pattern, and I want to create abstractions. But that's not what we're doing here. Like, even this fucking refactor, I didn't have to do it for the alpha. I just can't help myself. Anyways, so when we initialize repo, we're gonna say, well, we don't care about any of this. We're gonna say this state equals state initializing, and then we're gonna have an abort controller, new abort controller. So we're gonna add that to initializing, and we're gonna add the repo. If this state equals initializing, we're gonna say this state abort controller abort. So that if we were to run this twice, so it's synchronous here. Here we have get branch commits. So we have to check here if abort controller signal aborted. We're just going to return. We're not going to do anything more. Like, this happens so fast, but it's the correct way to do it. But the thing is, if we have the actual head, if we don't have the head, we want to go in and this .api. What is it called? Oh, is it repo? There we go. Well, this state change disposer. So it's the same repo here. Okay, so if we have a branch name, we're gonna initialize it, get the commits and initialize it, and if it changes and the branch changes, we're gonna initialize again. This all makes sense, but the problem now is, what if okay, so I think we're gonna move this up here. And then we're gonna add a disposer on initializing as well. And that will be also abort controller dot abort. So let's add that disposer. Okay. So whenever we initialize a repo, it doesn't matter what the state is. It might be initializing. It might be initializing. It might be initializing with like an existing branch grabbing the commits, or it might be waiting for a branch to become active. Doesn't matter. It will dispose. And then initialize itself again. So yeah, so this is interesting. If this state equals initialized and this dot state repo equals repo, and then repo dot state ispr dot branch. Okay, so this is an interesting one. So whenever we start initializing, we have this abort controller because we're listening to changes. So this might be either that we don't have an initial branch and we want to go and initialize again. I think this just simplifies it, that we just have this single one, but we have to check first. So no, I think we should, oh, for fuck's sake. You know what? We're gonna move this branch. I'm not gonna do this. Yeah. We don't need to actually check the, oh, or so if we are initialized, for frick's sake. Initializing, initialized. So if we are initializing and we have an update to the state and we, you know what, we're gonna create two different ones here. So if this state is initializing and yeah. No, I don't think it matters. Like, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if we're initializing or we're initialized. If for some reason the repo changes its branch, it's going from undefined to defined, from defined to different defined, from defined to undefined, we want to initialize the repo again. That's what we want to do. It does not matter how a branch change. Any change to the branch while initializing or initialized should trigger a new initialize. Yes. So now we have, so if we're initializing, you know what? We shouldn't do this. I think there should be implicit behavior by just changing the state. Dispose if dispose in this dot state dispose. So what happens now is, for fuck's sake. Yeah, we don't have to do this. Okay, so we're firing up this thing, this initializer. And if we don't have a Git extension, or we don't have a Git extension API, we can't get the extension running at all. So we're throwing an error. But when we do have the API, we fire up the initializer. And what it does is that it listens to any opening of a repository, which will initialize that repository. Or if we close a repository and that repository is the current repository we are handling. Oops, look at that. That's scary, the parentheses. And that's the current repository we're handling. We're going to put it into idle. And that's going to dispose of the initialized or initializing flow. And then if we already have a repository, we're going to initialize that. And if we don't have it, we'll wait for the open thing. So when we initialize, we go and see if we have a branch, we create an abort controller, and we listen to state changes on that repo. And then we go into initializing mode, where whenever we move away from that state, we'll abort the abort controller, and the state change disposer is disposed. And if we have a branch, oh, we don't have to do that. If we have a branch, we're going to go and grab the commits, but we might have been aborted after getting those commits. So then we'll just return. But if we're still in that flow, we're changing to initialized with the branch, with the context, everything. And we don't need the else here. And if we don't have a branch, we are still listening to the change to the state. And if we're still on that same repo and the branch name is not equal to the branch, the original branch, that being undefined or whatever, we're just going to go in and initialize the repo again. And that's going to put us in the correct state. Yes. But if the repo was closed in the meantime, all of this stuff is being disposed. So this will be idle. And then else if initializing repo repository. And then we're happy about that flow. And now we're going to rather await initializer.create. And the point is that we're not going to do this workspace folders. We just care about the repos. We don't care about the workspace, because if we change the workspace, we change the repo, and that should be fine. And we have all the commands we want to run, and we only run them when we actually have an initialized thing. Now, thing we need to move as well is we're not going to change the state anymore here, but we have this thing. The content provider. The somewhat challenging thing here is that if you were to change the repo, we need to clear this content provider. Sorry, 2 seconds. Oh, I think I can. Okay. So the thing is, we wanna register this thing not here. We want to register it on the outside, and then we want to pass in the content provider. Because we don't want to push that subscription multiple times, right? Well, VSCode. Options.context.subscriptions. Yeah, no, I don't think we want it there. Are we using the context for anything else? Oh, nice. Because now we don't actually have to pass in the context even. What we rather want to pass in is this content provider. Content provider, in memory, content provider. Okay. And then const content provider. Are we exporting it? No, we're not. I think we can just keep it here. And then we're gonna just move this in here. And then say content provider. And then we need to pass that with create content provider in memory content provider, and that's gonna be part of, I think we should do this, and then private in memory content provider, and then we're gonna pass that into content provider. Ah, what did I do wrong now? Wait, didn't I remove it? Wait, I removed it, didn't I? That's weird. Cool. I think that's the right way to handle it, because this needs to be shared. Yeah, and the point is we need to be able to clear this content provider whenever. So if we were to have something initialized and this dot oh, sorry. Let's see. Let's just content provider equals this dot content provider in memory content provider. Clear. Oh, that's a specific content provider clear all. So that when we change the branch or change the repo or anything, we're just gonna clear that content provider. The content provider is related to showing diffs. So let's add that clear all. Where are you, content provider? Content provider. There we go. Clear, public, clear all. This contents for each. Is there like a clear? Yeah. Okay, cool. I think we are back. Oh, we don't need the context here in the initializer. And do we even need a... Wait, why did it say... Oh. You know what? I don't think we should use the... Oh, sorry. No, this is fine because we're never running this again. Yeah, sorry. So we need to... That's fine. Okay, let's try running it, and it probably doesn't work, right? That's the beauty of this. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think I might know why. So we have nice PR now. Wait, it should be here in the extension. So we have these checks like get children. Yeah, if it's not initialized, I think we need to... Oh yeah, sorry. So, sorry. Constructor. Branch tree. Yeah, this dot initializer on change. Oh, this refresh. Oh, that's interesting. Didn't we fire? But it is initialized. Why doesn't it show anything? Did it have an error? Oh, git rev parse. Needed a single revision. Oh, maybe that's the thing. Oh, yeah, because now we're checking the rev parse. Check. Yeah, so this is... But why isn't this git rev parse? Needed a single version. How can that synchronously fail? I find that very strange. Oh, I guess it's just logging out. Oh, because it doesn't fail. Maybe we shouldn't have a check here. Like yeah, sorry. These checks shouldn't be here. Wait, is this still failing? Oh, you saw the... Oh, okay, so nothing's happening now. But why aren't we seeing anything? Oh, wait a minute. I know what's wrong. So when we have initialized, we need to listen to this one and then tell the initializer to update. Yeah, I think that's the best. Nice PR, because nice PR is firing an event because it's changing, but the extension views are only listening to the initializer. So I think the easiest way is to just kind of proxy those events instead of having like two listeners, and also then we don't have the complexity of so let's see, const state change disposer. Oh, do we two nice PR change disposer, because then it's just handled here as well, because it can change out the nice PR instance and then still the views in the extension will just listen to this like abstracted thing. So that means this on the change fire, and we have nice PR there, and we're disposing of it. Okay, let's see now. Oh, that's kind of nice. Initializing repository. There we go. There we have it. Oh, for fuck's sake. This was a lot of work, but I'm quite happy about that. So now we have this very dumb extension view that's just listening to this abstracted initializer. We could call it something else, but it's an abstraction over one of potentially chain. It's like a proxy for the actual nice PR instance. So whenever the branch changes, we're gonna change out the nice PR instance, but for the views, they don't care about that. They're just looking at the state of like initializing a repo or whatever, and then getting access to that nice PR instance. So this is good. And then yeah, I'm exhausted. I need some food. And then what we're gonna do next is actually add that like backup branch button thing. We just have to figure out how to provide the initial state of the backup branch. I think what we're doing now is a check backup branch. Where are we doing that? Yeah, because now we're making that the promise, or like, well, set rebase mode. Yeah, I think what we need to do is we should definitely not do that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how we're gonna do it. Because when we're setting... Oh, wait, sorry. No, we are doing the correct thing. Yeah, I remember now. Because we're setting the initial state to has backup branch false, and then we're going in and we're just setting the idle state again. But this nice PR thing should also have like some protection against like state changes. But I think this is more control because it's based on interaction. So if you interact, we're kind of putting it in a state where you can't do other interactions while it's like running that specific flow. So it's more controlled. It's not like just some random events happening in the background. Cool. Yeah, so now we should be able to like see if we have a backup branch and then have a button for that. So then next time we can implement actually reverting to that backup branch. We can test that. And then we're gonna create an alpha. Yes. Cool. Okay, thanks for following along. It was a little bit frustrating going through this refactor, but I'm pretty happy about the result. But at the same time, it makes me very frustrated when I can't like easily express how something should work with the complexity of like asynchronous stuff. Makes me think about, I feel there's a primitive missing. There's this primitive that kind of brings a promise and events and a potential initial value into one thing. Maybe there is an abstraction like that. I just haven't thought about it like that. It's like, yeah. But then at the same time, that's just getting the initial value, right? It's kind of just a predicate for a promise. Like, do I have the value? Give me the value. If not, wait for the value. And that could be like event-based. But then you want to continue listening to that event. And then, like, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, bye for now.